On a gray morning in Ohio, a 61-year-old widow opened her banking app and watched her entire life vanish. 40 years of savings. 8,000 miles away, behind a wall topped with barbed wire, a young man typed the words, "Good morning, my love," for the 400th time. He had not chosen to send them. A guard stood behind his chair. She thought she had found love. He thought he had found a job. Neither of them knew they were both prey, fattened for the same slaughter. To understand how it happened, you have to go back 14 months, to a woman who simply wanted company. Carol Whitman had buried her husband 2 years earlier. The house was very quiet. A wrong number text. A polite stranger apologizing, asking if this was someone named Jenny. Carol almost deleted it. She replied instead. The stranger was not a stranger at all. He was a script, a strategy, a manual, sent by a man who had been told exactly which words would make a lonely widow smile. Mateo Cruz was 24, a college graduate from Manila who could not find work. Then a recruiter offered him a customer service job in Cambodia. The salary was 3 times anything at home. He flew out with 1 suitcase and a head full of plans. At the airport, a driver took his passport for processing. He never saw it again. His office was a walled complex on the coast, dormitories, a casino, and high fences turned inward. The job was real. It was just not the job he was promised. Inside, he learned the rules. Hit your target and you eat. Miss it and you are sold to another compound, or worse. The men who missed too often did not come back to the dorm. They handed him a phone, a fake name, and a photo of a handsome man who did not exist. His new identity was an American engineer working on an oil rig. His target was a list of lonely people overseas. The technique had a name the bosses used openly. They called it pig butchering. First, you fatten the pig with affection. Then, you slaughter it for everything it has. For Carol, the messages became the best part of her day. He remembered her late husband's name. He asked about her garden. He never once asked for money. That was the coolest part of the design. The warmth was engineered to be patient. A real scam, the manual said, never rushes the pig. Mateo hated himself for being good at it. But every kind message he sent bought him 1 more day of safety. Her loneliness was his survival. After 2 months, he mentioned, almost shyly, how a friend had taught him to invest in crypto. He showed her his account. The numbers only ever went up. The trading platform looked flawless. Charts, balances, a customer service chat. It was a complete fake built by the compound's own programmers. Every green candle was a lie drawn to order. She started small, $500. Days later, the app showed $800. She withdrew a little, and it actually arrived in her bank. That single real payment sealed her trust. That first withdrawal was not generosity. It was bait. A few $100s spent to unlock a lifetime of savings. The pig was eating from their hand now. Over the next 4 months, she invested more, then more. She took a loan against the house her husband built. The app told her she was now worth $900,000. When Carol tried to withdraw her fortune, the platform asked for a tax fee first. 20% paid up front. To get her money, she had to send more money. On the other end, Mateo was ordered to push her for the fee. He typed the demand. Then he sat staring at the words, "I trust you," she had sent that morning. Carol emptied her retirement account to pay the fee. Then came a compliance hold, then another fee. the hole only got deeper. A bank teller finally said the word out loud: scam. Carol laughed at her. She was certain the man she loved would never do this. Then the messages stopped. The handsome engineer, the daily good mornings, the future they planned. All of it went dark in a single afternoon. Carol had nothing left to give, so the pig had been slaughtered. Nadia Okafor had been tracking the compounds for 3 years. She had a wall of victims like Carol, and a question no one could answer: who owned these places? Carol agreed to talk on camera, her voice shaking. She still kept the photo of the engineer in her wallet. "I know he wasn't real," she said, "but the feeling was." The wallets were designed to look like chaos. But chaos has patterns. Again and again, the trails fed into one cluster, a single financial hub. That hub was not a back alley operation. It was a respected conglomerate with banks, hotels, and charity galas. At its center sat a man celebrated as a self-made tycoon. At first, police paraded the suspect, a mid-level compound manager arrested in a dawn raid. The headlines declared the case closed. Nadia knew it was theater. The manager was a replaceable cog. The compounds reopened within weeks under new names. The real owner had never been touched. His name was Victor Chen, 38 years old, photographed beside ministers and celebrities donating to hospitals. On paper, a philanthropist. On the blockchain, the destination of stolen billions. Inside the walls, the workers knew the name too. Chen's portrait hung in the lobby like a king's. The men who ran the scams were as trapped as the people they robbed. Mateo made a decision that could get him killed. On a smuggled phone, he began recording everything: floor plans, names, the daily scripts. He wanted out, and he wanted proof. The breakthrough came not from a police file, but from inside the cage. A message reached Nadia through an activist network. Photos, a voice, a plea. It was Mateo. For weeks they spoke in stolen moments. He described the call floor, the punishments, the targets. And then he said something that froze her. He could name the victims by heart. One name stopped Nadia cold: a widow in Ohio. She matched it to a woman she had already interviewed. The man who robbed Carol and Carol herself were both sitting in front of Nadia's cameras. Mateo's smuggled footage gave investigators what years of subpoenas could not: the inside of the machine. Combined with the blockchain trail, it pointed straight up the chain, to Chen. Nadia's reporting forced what governments had avoided. A cross-border task force opened a formal case. For the first time, the empire had a target on its back. Word of the investigation reached the compound first. Overnight, the call floors emptied. Hard drives were smashed, and workers were loaded into trucks to be moved or sold. Mateo knew that being moved meant disappearing for good. With Nadia coordinating from outside, he made his run during the chaos of the evacuation. One wrong step meant a bullet. He reached a roadside checkpoint at dawn, clutching the phone that held everything. A pre-warned officer let him through. After 14 months, Mateo was outside the wall. Victor Chen did not run on foot. He boarded a private jet. But his own government, under mounting global pressure, had quietly revoked his protection. He was arrested on the tarmac. The numbers stunned the world. Billions of dollars, tens of thousands of trafficked workers, victims in every country. The philanthropist was charged with running one of the largest fraud and trafficking empires in history. Carol Whitman will likely never recover her money. Most victims never do. The house her husband built was sold. But she found something unexpected. She was not alone, and she was not foolish. Mateo Cruz testified from a protected location. He carries guilt for the people he was forced to deceive. "I was a victim who was made into a weapon," he said. Through Nadia, Carol learned the truth about the man behind the messages. Not a lover, not a thief by choice, but a prisoner. She wrote to him. She wrote that she forgave him. And yet the cages remain. For every compound raided, new ones rise across the region, still ringed with barbed wire, still full of stolen people. Chen's arrest was a victory, but not the end. Cruelest scams no longer come from strangers. They come wearing the face of someone who loves you, typed by someone praying to be saved. Both ends of the line were caged. The question is, who built the cage? If a message from a stranger ever feels too perfect, remember Carol and remember Mateo. Comment below. Do you think justice was truly served?